Hello friends, welcome to my channel. In my last video, I was discussed about some unknown facts about Mr. Albert Einstein. Today, I'll speak about Mr. Michael Faraday. He is one of the greatest scientist of 18th century who invented electricity. We can see him as a father of electricity. To begin with, Mr. Michael Faraday, born in 1791, and he never had a formal scientific education. Michael Faraday never undergone a formal science education and never gone to university to learn some scientific basis or theories or practical something like that. But he just whatever he got by the God grace, he got for himself with the greatest Almighty's gift. He never undergo any formal schooling or formal scientific schooling. Mr. Albert Einstein, we can say him as a self-starter, but he was fascinated by the greatest charismatic chemist, who was Mr. Humphrey Davy. We all known about him as he is a person who has tested nitrous oxide on himself. Nitrous oxide is a laughing gas which creates what we know in general. So the person, Mr. Sir Humphrey Davy's all books and all his lectures has been followed by Faraday, and we can say Faraday is fascinated by Mr. Davy. In 1812 year, somehow Michael got a Mr. Davy's upcoming lecture where he spoke about the laughing gas and other chemistry. And Mr. Michael Faraday, very fond of his books and his lectures, is allowed to follow Mr. Davy, and he requested to become an assistant to Mr. Davy, though Mr. Michael Faraday doesn't have any university degree or asset, but Mr. Davy allowed his enthusiasm to just join and support him as assistant in a royal institution, which is one of the greatest institution which always known to be given the Nobel and awards the all greatest literates. Mr. Michael Faraday invented a magnetic and mercury. When he was working in a royal institution, some of the scientists who found electric current produces a magnetic field, and the two electric magnetic fields wise produces a force each other. Faraday thought that can we just harness this magnetic power? Whatever the co-scientist who invented the power current flow and also generates the magnetic field, how to harness this magnetic field, or how to harness electromotive force, we can say. In fact, he started working on some experimental thing along with his co-scientist, and finally he found where the current turned into mechanical energy. How can we just generate a magnetic field and just inserting in between magnet will always rotates when we like it's a formula of a motor. What we're using a motor now, the electromotive force will generate the current which pass through a coil will generate the electromotive force, and the magnet inside will start rotating because of the magnetic field has been generated by the coil of coil system or a wire coil. When current pass through that, it will generate a magnetic field which in turn turn the or generate the magnetic field which in turn turn the rotating magnetic blade or maybe an item which takes the magnetic field which is exerted by the electromotive force. How by this way Mr. Michael Faraday has invented the motor, what we are using now as a motor. It is the greatest invention of the mankind. And also he has created the electric generator. After getting the breakthrough of the motor, Faraday has discovered that the movement of wire through a stationary magnetic field means it can induce electric current in the wire in such a way that we discussed just now how the motor has been created. A coil of a wire, when the current flows through the coil of wire, we generate the magnetic field, and in between if we place a rotating object which has a little magnetic force on it, maybe a magnet which the field which is generated by the coil and internal magnet will exchange the energy and it make the center part to rotate, which is a formula of electric motor what we're using now. After that, inventing the electric motor, Mr. Faraday has thought why can't we use a vice versa, when you have a magnetic field or magnetic wires will rotate in the magnetic field, then it will generate the current. Example, I can just read out here. Faraday discovered that the movement of wire through a stationary magnetic field. Now the magnetic field is there. When you rotate a static bunch of electrical wires, will generate the power. It just an opposite to the motor, where electric motor, when electric current pass through a coil of wire which generate the magnetic field, and that will rotate the inside the magnet where we can see the motor. When vice versa, when you rotate the magnetic field, it will generate the electromotive force. Faraday's law says that an electric flux cut the conductor, or conductor cut the electrical flux, and EMF will be induced. Electromotive force will be induced when a static magnet rotates, can generate a power, or a power on a coil can generate the magnetic field, can rotate the motor. It's all totally an opposite version of each other, motor and generator. Both has been found by the Mr. Faraday, the greatest scientist, which is now we all know that the fundamental utilities of these magnetic electric motors and electric generator for the mankind. Now we can't imagine this world without a generator and the electricity and the motors. He has shown the pull of magnetic force. Yes, during his tenure, when he's really in a mode of inventing electric motor and also the generator, he was just recreated the inventions, and he forecast, or he just shown portrayed it in front of the school children, high school students, saying that how exactly the electric motive force will work. When you take a magnet and keep a magnetic slab and just put the all fine fiber or fine piece of the magnetic small pieces, can just put a paper across and just move it. Then you can see the magnetic field, how the north and south poles pull the magnetic all across the paper. So that itself shows that how he was so interested to forecast or show to the upcoming students or interested kids to understand what is the magnetic field and what is the electric motor and what is the generator. And we have still in London laboratory all parts or scientific knowledge, or what the theories or thesis written by Mr. Michael Faraday. It's still kept in the Royal Institution. If at all anybody gets a chance, you can just have a look at there, where you can understand how exactly he is worked out on those days to understand the magnetism and also electricity. And Mr. Michael Faraday has given the greatest gift to the mankind or scientific community, that the words like electrodes, anode, cathode, based on its charge, he has defined the names of the areas or parts or genre of the electricity or magnetism, and became the two is popular. The greatest scientist we can say was really contributed his inventions in a greatest mode we can utilize it in a greatest mode for entire mankind. In 18th century, the royal prince Mr. Consort has given him a greatest place to comfortably he can stay with his family after looking at the greatest inventions and the thought process and greatest works of Mr. Michael Faraday. Prince Consort is actually the Queen Victoria's husband. Mr. Prince Albert has given the better place to stay, better place to live for him. And he was featured on the United Kingdom's currency. He was featured, his portrait was put on the currency, which is used then as a general usage is about even some studies are seeing that by February 2001, around 2 billion liquid cash has been printed with this portrait on it. So friends, this is a little about Mr. Michael Faraday, who invented the greatest for utilities for the mankind, is especially the current not exactly the power current, but he understood the flow of current can generate a magnetic field, and therein we can convert the magnetic field into a motor, and vice versa we convert a rotating force into an electromotive force. Those are the Faraday's laws, and is the greatest inventor of the 18th century, has done excellent job. Friend, this little about the Mr. Michael Faraday. Thank you for watching my video. I'll just talk about other scientists in my next video. Please do watch and share your comments. Please subscribe.